Well, hello, my friends. I hope you're having a wonderful weekend. I hope I have a wonderful weekend. I don't see why I shouldn't. Anyway, what I was thinking about that I wanted to talk to you about, since I can't go to the cafe and talk to a bunch of fascinating beatniks, or a salon with a bunch of fascinating bohemians, I'll just talk to a camera and pretend you're here. I was thinking about who would you like to have interpreting scientific papers and studies for you? Assuming that it's very, very difficult to read a scientific paper, to understand a scientific study, to understand Bayesian statistics, to understand statistics, to understand the math, to understand the jargon, to understand the first little itsy bitsy thing about the domain itself, which is obviously a mystery, whatever it might be. But let's just take the C19 thing, what I used to call the C45 thing when 45 was in office. Who do you want interpreting that? Do you want a person who's really intelligent and logical and sincere and earnest and not a dick, not an egomaniac, who has some background in science and can more or less interpret a scientific paper? But even more importantly, the person will go to primary sources, experts, the scientists who are doing the studies, and investigate what they've done, and then understand all the nuanced language around the study. It's like more research is needed, or based on what we know at the moment, it seems to be this is the case, kind of thing. It's never happens where you read a scientific study and it just it's done and dusted. We don't need any more research. We know it all. Things are always shifting. So if somebody is capable of doing that, and then they come along and they have a decent, honest opinion about the research, maybe that's a good shortcut for you, because it's onerous to read a long study and it's difficult. So I kind of trust this guy. So I'm going to go ahead and defer to his opinion. That's what we do all the time when we read op-eds or articles. Straight up journalism, like there was a tornado in Kansas yesterday. Okay, fine. But stuff that requires some research, some understanding, some digging, some detective work, some background knowledge, prior knowledge of the domain, and so on and so forth. We want to find people that we trust, right? And I'm going to talk about something else in terms of trust, which gets back to the culture aspect of things that I've been thinking about. Do you want to live in a culture of trust or mistrust, basically? But that's for another video. So you find somebody that you kind of trust, and you say, I'm gonna defer to their opinions on this. It seems like they read the paper and they digested the information and they understand the vocabulary, and they're good communicators. I can understand them. They make sense. They talk well. They seem nice. And then maybe if I'm really, really interested, I'll go to the primary sources and look at the paper myself, armed with kind of a cursory understanding, and try to learn a bit more about that domain and figure things out. That's if you want to do that. Most of us don't care. Like the Ghislaine Maxwell thing. I mean, so what? Whatever happens, the big guys aren't going to fall. And if somebody says, like, Bill Clinton did something naughty with a monkey, everybody's going to go, oh my God, outrageous, and they're going to forget about it in 2 weeks. That's just the way it works. The news cycle and people's attention span. And at the end of the day, you want to go back to the game. And all of us are just feeding the machine. We take our debit card out and we stick it in the machine and we watch the random numbers come up and hope we win something, basically. And we work our asses off just to play that game, while the bigger players do whatever the hell they want. And you have all these goofy, messed up incentives and greed and basic ignorance by the general public. But let's get back to what I'm saying. So you go to some public intellectual or dark web intellectual or whatever source, some ideologue, some entertaining blowhard, some shock jock, some sexy infotainment person, and you say, I like this person. They're emotionally satisfying to me, so I'm going to spend some of my caloric energy digesting their ideas, thoughts, and opinions and kind of layering them into my own. And then I'm going to christen myself well-informed. The choices you make in that process, if you have the agency, the intellectual wherewithal, the self-awareness to be able to make that choice, a good choice about that, who to watch, who to listen to, it's going to make a huge difference in how well informed you really are, right? So I think, most of us don't think too much about that. So like if you look at an intellectual dark web or an intellectual light web or a forgotten middle web intellectual on YouTube or a blog or something, you say, I kind of like this person. They're kind of cool. So I'm going to defer to them. And I'm going to fold their opinions into mine, and I'm going to come up with my worldview or my understanding of a particular subject or domain. Be careful when you do that, because I think we should all come up with a list of criteria that we use to evaluate people that we pay attention to. It's like if it has to do with C19 or any other thing, we say, all right, does this person have any expertise in that domain at all? And before we get to any biases that the person might have or messed up incentives, like the only reason I'm talking about this is I want my, YouTube viewership to grow more. So I'm going to go ahead and pick the hot topic and chime in, kind of thing, whatever the incentives are. And is the person sincere? Are they earnest? Do they look like they really want to inform you? Do they look like they're in the process of informing themselves? Do they go to primary sources? Are they able to understand and comprehend the information from the primary sources? How do they find their sources and so on? You might not know, like a journalist might not reveal their sources, but you know what I'm saying. In general, most of this stuff that we're looking at is public knowledge. There's a lot of information out there anyway, and if any of us wanted to go to the primary sources, we could. Nothing would stop us. It's just a matter of wanting to spend your time and caloric energy mulling it over, putting your brain on it, slathering some brain time onto that subject for whatever reason. Like, why would I want to do that when I really just want to be inside the UFC, or inside baseball? I just want to read gossip about movie stars or watch reality TV. It's all good. Whatever you're into, that's fine. But if you're going to look at some complex subject that is controversial, and you can just see the money all over it, it just reeks of money, right? And messed up incentives. But you have some motivation to understand the subject because maybe you don't want to get sick, or you don't want to get poor, you don't want to get hurt, or you want to protect your family, or whatever reasons. Then I think we should come up with this criteria for ourselves. Make a list and be careful about it. You know, who am I going to pay attention to and why? Why do I read this guy and not that guy? Or even if you do read several different angles of opinion, and you should, at least you're going to people that you believe are sincere and doing good work. And if they are engaging with the primary sources, they're capable of doing it and in a good way, and capable of communicating it in a clear way to you, to us. That's really important. So who do you want to do the job of interpreting the science for you? Because all of us think we follow the science. But honestly, you know, do we even know what we're following? And the science isn't the science. It's the scientists. It's the scientific organization that's doing the work. And the work is ongoing. It never ends. So who do you want interpreting that work for you? I always think it's good to go to experts, people. If it's virology, go to a virologist. If it's infectious disease, go to an infectious disease person who spent 30 years in the job. If it's epidemiology, go to an epidemiologist. You know, if you know, find the organizations, institutions, and experts. Go to the primary sources, and if it just makes you feel like you want to blow your brains out because it's so complicated, find people that you think you can trust who are capable of digesting that information and then feeding it back out to yourself. Who do you want interpreting that? I don't want a dickhead. I don't want a jerk. I don't want a blowhard, a shock jock, or just some smart ass dark web or mediocre web guy trying to grift an audience so that they can pay their bills or get a big audience, or any of these goofed up incentives. I don't want people like that because it's a waste of my time and I won't be informed afterwards. Okay, I've repeated that. I've said it enough. Thank you for watching. William T.